I'm Gary Birtles, one of the old gits from a long time ago. You've got to tune into Tricky Talks, I believe, so just do it. All the best.
Robertson, the first time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robertson do. And still Robertson, getting his shot in, and a goal! Robertson!
Hello and welcome along to the Tricky Talks podcast. As VAR struck again, which saw Forest suffer a very average result against Fulham, we are here to go through that and what it means and look forward to what could be season-defining games against Midtjylland and Spurs. Chelsea's here as always. How you doing, Chelsea?
Yeah, good, thank you. I mean, it's a point on the board, but 3 would have been even better.
It would. And Kate is also here. Did you enjoy your Mother's Day aside from the football?
I did. I didn't not enjoy the football. I don't feel awful about the result. But yeah, I got a nice card and a bag of sweets, and we watched film in the evening. So it was lovely. Thank you. Nice.
And Mollo is here, fresh from taking his lovely wife Gemma out for her birthday meal. Did you have a nice meal? Did she have a nice evening out with Mr. Mollo?
Of course. What could be better? Yeah, very, very nice. Quick plug, Browns in Nottingham. Still slightly better than the Ivy, I'd say, but, I'll have to go back to the Ivy to check first. Just keep going between them.
Let's get straight into it then. Obviously, Forest, I say suffered a 1-1 draw. It was a point. Sorry, I beg your pardon, a 0-0, not 1-1. Don't know where that came from, but it was a point. We did keep that coveted clean sheet that you so desperately needed to start with, Mollo. So let's start there, shall we? Initial thoughts after the draw?
We should have won it on the balance of play and everything else. Again, I watched it after work today. We played well. The negative I think context is everything, isn't it? If that had been early in the season and we play a full strength Fulham team with all their players back and we dominate them and draw 0-0, we say, well, that was good, we're a bit unlucky, bodes well. But as per usual these days, there's an overreaction from the fans after the game. Shane Moreland couldn't react like that in the game and get behind the team a bit more. It's the most pathetic atmosphere after the first half hour we've had in a long time. But anyway, good clean sheet. They never really looked like scoring. The one chance they had was offside anyway. I didn't know that at the time, admittedly. So, good performance, great defensive display, and very hopeful that if we can repeat that, the goals will hopefully come in time. Or put another way, draw the last 8 games 0-0, or however many games it is, and we end up with 37 points, which might be enough.
I'll come on to that later because I've got some interesting stats to share around what the likely points tally is going to be needed in order to avoid relegation. So hold that thought, Mollo, because we'll come back to that. But Chelsea, it does seem as though Forest are just desperately unlucky at the minute, aren't they? They can't buy a goal for toffee, especially at home. And it's getting to the point where, are you getting desperate? I think people are heading that way quickly, aren't they? But it's, what were you thinking at the final whistle? Because it's more of the same, isn't it?
Yeah, it just seems to keep repeating itself at the minute, and I completely echo what Mollo said. If we'd have got a point against Fulham at the start of the season, it would have been like, absolutely take that point in the bag. Whereas now, because of the desperation, and we're thinking of like more middle of the road teams, towards the bottom, we're trying to pick up those extra 3 points. I think what makes it even more frustrating is that West Ham pick up a point, Spurs pick up a point. It just seems we're not moving that bit further away from the relegation. It just seems to, even though we are, I don't think we played badly on Sunday. I don't at all. But it just seems we play like that and we think, okay, right, it doesn't matter, we've got a point on the board. And then you see Spurs draw as well and you think, God, right, okay, so we haven't really dug ourselves out any further than what we already were. And I think that's the frustrating bit, and that's where the desperation comes from as us fans at the minute.
To be fair, though, other teams' fans are probably thinking the same when Forest pick up a point at the places like Man City, which was totally unexpected. I think it's probably just a general feeling for all the fan bases around the bottom of the league at the minute when they see rival teams picking up points. But for Forest, it just seems to... They just don't have any luck, do they, Kate? And we're going to talk about the VAR because I know technically it probably was offside for both the penalty shout and the goal, if you want to be really picky and think about toenails and the width of or of a toe, but they do seem to be hard done by there, don't they?
Yeah, and I do want to be really picky, actually, as it goes, because I don't think there are many people that want to see that goal disallowed. Okay, so maybe if you're a West Ham fan and a Spurs fan, you do, but as a football fan, I don't think many people want to see that disallowed. And when that goal could literally be the difference between us staying up and going down, it makes that toenail like even more like, come on, it's football. Give us a break, you know? And yeah, fine margins, maybe it was offside, but is that what VAR is for? I don't know, that's a whole new debate, but it's 45 seconds, I think it was roughly, that we had where we were on our feet. I was screeching, honestly, with absolute joy, and you think, this is it, finally. And then that, you know, he's celebrated, the team have celebrated, you think enough time has passed that you're not going to get that board go up with goal being checked by VAR, and then there it is. And as soon as it goes up, you just know it's not going to get given because it's Forest and we don't seem to be getting anything at the moment. But then I suppose also, being Forest, nobody's ever going to give us a hand, nobody's ever going to give us a leg up. You know, we've got to do it ourselves.
It seems that way, doesn't it? I mean, Arsene Wenger's got an idea to revise VAR and their interpretation of the offside rule, hasn't he? You're nodding, Mollo, so sounds like you're familiar with that. But it's almost like there's got to be daylight between the last defender and the attacker if the attacker's running forward. So under those rules, Ndoye would have been onside. If he's further ahead of the defender and you can see daylight between the two players, that is offside under Arsene Wenger's rule. And I think that's a lot fairer, isn't it, Mollo, in terms of how that rule, how VAR should be used and how offside should be utilised.
Yeah, I think I've thought long and hard about this, to be honest with you, not just because of yesterday. And it goes back to the offside rule and what it's for. And, you know, when the rules of Football Association were amended to include offside, it wasn't so that a defender or an attacker was a toenail offside or even a shoulder or a head offside. It was to stop goal hanging, wasn't it? And it was to stop an unfair advantage to the attacker. The daylight rule, I think, in the modern game would be spot on. Arsene Wenger, he's not an idiot. I think he's right. It would take... There's still going to be debate, but at least if you're ahead of the defender and your toe is onside and they're not sure whether it should be onside or offside, it's not got quite the same feeling that one yesterday that's gone against us. Offside's offside, ultimately. Assuming... Now, this is the other thing. Assuming the technology is accurate, because at the time I thought he was offside, and I celebrated the goal half-heartedly after I looked at the lines and thought, well, he hasn't given it. But when I watched it on telly today, I'm like, actually, I'm not convinced that was offside. And then when they've done I know they do the cartoon afterwards once they've got all the data, supposedly, but there's no advantage for anyone, is there? There's no advantage. He was offside by millimetres, and then he's got himself 2 or 3 yards in front of the defender through his movement and pace. That's not what it's about. So yes, it was offside. Yes, it was rightly disallowed if the technology is correct. But Arsene Wenger is spot on, and I wish he would also stand up and say, if it hits the hand, it's handball. None of this other rubbish that we've got going on at the moment as well. They're the two laws of the game that need modifying and changing yet again, and then get rid of all the. I know we're going off a slight tangent. Get rid of all the diving and time wasting, and ban having a ball in your own half for more than 30 seconds like they do in basketball for 10 seconds because it's getting boring. I watched the first half on telly earlier, and I was getting bored senseless watching. I didn't feel like it at the game, admittedly. Watching the side-to-side backwards passing from both sets of defenders, it was dull. And football isn't... I'm just that old fart on football isn't what it was. go back to your original question, I agree 100% with Arsene Wenger on this.
Did you realise? Did you not realise? But did you see when they were on? When you saw about it being offside, how long it took for them to actually get like the cartoon, like you said, Mollo, with the lines drawn up though. It wasn't like straight away. It was like quite a few minutes later into the game, and then all of a sudden they then decided to show it. And I thought, oh, did you draw the lines yourself then? Is that what you were busy trying to do?
Well, the cartoon takes time, doesn't it? Because the cartoon isn't what they judge it on. The cartoon is drawn out of the data they've got from their 30 cameras or whatever it is. So I'm not saying it's wrong. It felt wrong looking at it on telly.
It felt wrong, yeah.
It didn't look offside. There was no advantage gained, and it was just daft. It's the rule that's at fault, and as Simon said, the use of VAR, when it's that close, it's pointless.
Yeah.
I mean, Ndoye was at the centre of the two most controversial VAR decisions, and it takes me back to his appearance in general, because I thought he did pretty well when he came on. We've not seen a huge amount of him lately, Kate, but do you think he's now getting to the stage where the first 11 are not doing the job, are they? Clearly, we might regard them as the first 11 and the strongest team, but they're not doing the job. So do they need to bring in some individuals, such as Dan Ndoye, to provide something a little bit different? I know we're going to talk about Midtjylland later and potential changes there, but do you see a case for the likes of Dan Ndoye to come in and get some more minutes, given the impact he had against Fulham?
If I'm honest, maybe I'm not the right person to ask that question to, because I'm not a huge fan of Dan Ndoye. And I thought, he had those two moments, but I personally didn't think he had an awful lot else to offer. And as much as I wish that goal had been given or the penalty had been given, I don't believe that Dan Ndoye is the secret to unlocking success at the end of our season. I can't see that personally. What he does offer, and I've always said this, is some pace, and even that went against him yesterday, really, didn't it? There has to be an argument for some of the substitutes coming on and making an impact and finding a way to do that. I'm not personally... I don't think Dan Ndoye is that guy.
All right, let's throw Taiwo Awoniyi into the mix as well, because he had a fairly decent impact when he came on for Jesus. And okay, again, you want your substitutes to have that impact. And I'm not for one moment saying he should be starting ahead of Jesus every game, but Chelsea, is it an opportunity to do something different, to try and get somebody to provide that spark? Because the crowd get up for it when Awoniyi comes on, and you can hear them singing in the background. So the crowd are up for it. The manager isn't afraid to make those substitutions, to bring those players on. But do you think there's a case for Awoniyi to start? Obviously, he can't in the Europa League, but I'm talking Premier League now.
Oh yeah, I'd definitely start him for the Spurs game. I mean, when we were watching it on telly, I caught the second half, and you could hear like all the fans. They were cheering for him. And when he came on, I think he made an impact. I mean, for me, Jesus, whether he just doesn't suit our style of play, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't have any confidence in him scoring at the moment, and we're not scoring. And I don't think he's a like replacement for Chris Wood. And I'm not saying Awoniyi is either, but Awoniyi is a different style of play, and I do feel like he installed fear in Fulham. He absolutely charges his way through. He's a big, strong bloke. He isn't afraid to just go for it. And I think that's what we need at the moment. And he did show want, and he did show passion, and he did show effort. And that's what we need at the moment. And Jesus really isn't giving us that at the moment. When we look at Luca as well, we haven't seen much of him. I know he hasn't had many minutes, but we haven't had a like-for-like replacement for Wood, which we all know is what we needed. And by the sounds of things, he isn't coming back for a while. I know he's on the training ground. But for me, I would definitely start Awoniyi. He gives something, and you could just feel that, the fans were lifted as a result of when he came on. That's what we need. And Jesus, there is no end product with him at the moment.
According to New Zealand sources, Chris Wood and his return is about a month away. So we're looking at the Burnley game. However, I'll pose the same question to you, Mollo. We can't rely on Chris Wood right now. So would you give more minutes to Awoniyi or even start over Jesus at the moment? And again, we're talking Premier League here.
I think history shows us, yes, Awoniyi has got a track record of scoring goals. I'm not degrading the idea, but history shows us the way he plays, he's better coming on fresh legs against slightly tired legs, because he can't run around like that. Last time he did, it was a long while ago now, he was blowing out his backside inside 10 minutes, and then he's no advantage to us against those defenders, is he, if you follow my drift. So, although the last couple of games Jesus' hold-up play has been absolutely diabolical, which is the one thing he's normally really good at, I still think we start with somebody else and Awoniyi, but it can't just be 20 minutes or half an hour. There's nothing wrong with bringing him on kind of 2 or 3, 5 minutes into the second half, getting him on there and giving him a good 35, 40 minutes plus injury time. So I wouldn't start with him yet. The other problem is, and this is sad to say, if we start with him, there's more chance of him getting broken, and we can't afford that at the moment with his history, his injuries. There's that element, but also, you know, he does cause havoc, and although he missed a couple of chances, albeit one was offside probably, he got chances that no other player in our team would get, except possibly, although he's not a centre forward, and Kate alluded to it, possibly Ndoye, because he's got the pace when he uses it. I'm a big fan of Ndoye going forward. It's just he's not there yet. I said 5-6 months ago, next season we'll be talking about trying to hang on to Ndoye. I still believe that, because he's genuinely two-footed and he's quick. We watched the game back today. He did so much more when he came on than I realised at the game. It's kind of, he didn't give the ball away much. He was in some tight spots he got out of, and I just think he's a proper footballer. It's just we're not a proper football team at the minute, if that makes sense either. So we're relying on things to happen. But going back to your original question again, I wouldn't start with Taiwo yet. Not because he's done anything wrong, but I just don't know if he's ready to try and play 60 or 70 minutes before being replaced. But then that does flip it, that a fresh Jesus against tired legs could have an impact as well. So there's arguments both ways, isn't there?
Yeah, and we've seen firsthand the impact Awoniyi has coming off the bench at Brentford, and how much nuisance he was in that particular game. And I would have him in the team ahead of Luca for a start. Much is sure. Continuing the theme of substitutions, though, I mentioned just now Pereira is brave in his substitutions, and he was certainly brave in pulling off Morgan Gibbs-White and Elliot Anderson. What did you make of that, Kate? Because they're our two best players, and I feel if we're going to get out of this mess, those two are going to have to be showing the England form, because I don't know where it's going to come otherwise. So when those guys are taken off, it seriously weakens your team, doesn't it? Now, I know it wasn't for very long, but nevertheless, you want your best players on the pitch, surely.
And that, to me, makes even less sense. What's the point of pulling them for that tiny amount of time? Unless one of them has pulled up or is starting to show a bit of an injury, or they've in some way indicated that they want to come off. When it's for such a short amount of time, I don't really understand it, and it always makes me nervous when we weaken at the end of a game, because 0-0 is so fragile. And I just thought when they came off, if we concede now, good God, this place is going to absolutely rip apart. Luckily we didn't.
Was it luck though?
I don't know, was it not? Was it skill?
We looked
I do.
We looked a lot stronger those last 10 minutes when they'd gone off than when they were on. Ironically, because at the time I was raging, thinking, what the hell was he doing? But watching it back, Yates won every single header, every single tackle, didn't give the ball away once, set a couple of moves going with his winning of the ball, and apart from obviously McAtee, I mean that goes without saying at this point, we looked better and more dangerous, having, I think even the commentator said something along the lines of, Fulham have wrestled back control of the game just before he made the changes, and then suddenly we had it. Football isn't played on paper, and I completely agree that it was a crazy idea, but it nearly worked, and it didn't. It did the exact opposite of what I thought it would do. We created more chances for Taiwo. We won every single ball in midfield. The only thing I don't agree with, and you know what I'm going to say, is if you're going to take off a centre midfielder, take off the one who's been as useful as a cone recently, traffic cone who did
Which is
nothing
exactly what I
again.
was going to say.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I don't have an issue with bringing Yates on. You know, I know that he isn't quite the player that he was, but he has still absolutely got something to offer. And when it comes to battling, you'd want Yates on your shoulder battling with you. So I don't have an issue with Yates coming on. But for me, other players, shall we say, could have made their way to the dressing room slightly earlier than Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The only thing I'd say about Yatesy as well, and we're all his biggest fans, but it's almost he's become a caricature of a player because he's not playing. And you just said he's not the player he was. He's at his absolute peak right now, but we're expecting him, or people are expecting him, to drop into the team having not played many minutes and be at his best. And amazingly, he's done it twice this season now. Last night was one example, and the other one was Man United when he came on after a short period of time. If you're not playing and not getting any rhythm, it's hard to be dropping in. But he still did more in that short space of time than the guy playing the same position until he pushed further forward. And I'm not advocating, Yates is our best player, let's start with him, because you just get slaughtered for that. But at least, as you've said, you know you've got someone who's going to fight to stay up. And he might not look pretty and do certain things that other players can do, but he'll give the ball to a red shirt and he'll never shirk a challenge. And we certainly can't say that about one or two of our other players. And on the same point about the subs, I thought also Hutchinson had a really good game, changed it around, and he seems still at the moment to be better coming off the bench in this side at the moment. So yeah, I'd agree with what you said there, Kate, apart from Yates is at his absolute peak in terms of his age, but he's just not playing. That's the only reason we're not seeing the best of him, although I suppose we did last night in a way.
We did.
I think you're seeing is a very clear divide now between players of those who are putting the effort in and those who are not. Yatesy being the one, like you both said, saying about how, you know, if you're going into battle, you want Yatesy with you, and you can see it. Gibbs-White absolutely runs his nuts off, bless him, and you can just see the other ones who, like, we shall not name, as you both have not done as well, but you can see the ones who are lacking in that effort.
It's not. I've got to be careful. It's not. I don't think it's lack of effort. It's a lack of a type of application. Like, we've got one player. We've got a couple of players who are a bit weak in the challenge, but we've got one in a crucial position that will not go in for a 50-50 tackle ever. He'll dangle a foot. He'll toe poke a tackle. He'll make a bit of a block as the other person's made the tackle already, but he physically won't go in for a 50-50, whether he's worried about injury for the last however long. And I don't understand it. And then you see Yates goes in and wins an 80-20 against him, against the biggest guy on the pitch who's built like a brick outhouse, and smashes him. The guy bottles it so much the ball goes out for a goal kick when we all thought it must be a corner because it must have come off him. And you think, that's what I want to see from my team right now while we're at the bottom. But he's not a technician, he doesn't look pretty, so, you know, let's keep the man who can block passing lanes occasionally and has the ability to make a fantastic forward pass, but usually chooses not to.
That was great of Yatesy in that challenge that you talk about, Mollo, because he was convinced it was a corner, and he looked at the ref, and him and the ref started laughing at each other, didn't they? Because I think the ref knew Yatesy was trying to pull a swift one over him. But another player I want to talk about is Ola Aina, and I'd heard on another podcast that I won't mention that they thought Aina was lucky to get a start after his mistake against Midtjylland, which is a bit harsh to say the least, and I don't think we'd agree with that. But he put in a shift, and his effort, of course, in the second half, which crashed off the crossbar, just summed up Forest's luck at the moment, didn't it? Millimetres, fine margins. Any other day that would have been top corner. But then at the other end, a few minutes after that, he went and cleared a certain goal off by heading it away, didn't he? If you remember that one from Rahul. So I think we need to give a nod to Ola Aina's performance, given the fact that his confidence must have been low after making that crucial mistake against Midtjylland. But I think it's fair to say, Kate, he bounced back, didn't he?
He absolutely did. I bet the Ribena reps were poised and ready at their keyboards as that ball flew towards goal. I bet they thought, we're getting it again. But no, it wasn't meant to be, was it? But no, he did. He had a great game, and I was really pleased for him because I am a big fan of Vollerena, and I thought he thoroughly redeemed himself, and what a great way to shut people up that have got helpful comments like bench him because he made a mistake. You know, like that. There you go. Have a bit of that.
Shall we move on to Molo's moment then, shall we?
Well, unusual one. It took me time. I was trying to decide between Seatman's new song, which is the Tears for Fears, shout, shout, let it all out.
He was doing that against Liverpool, wasn't he?
Yeah, we are the Reds from the City Ground. I'm talking to you. But in the end, I've gone for a very unusual one. Obviously, I can't pick the goal because I didn't celebrate it, if I'm honest, properly until I was sure, and then it went the other way. But for me, this is a very personal one. It's not. No one else gets to enjoy it. I went for a drink at half time and left the youngsters up in the stand. And I came back and I was like, "Where's Henry?" And then he came wandering back with a scarf round his head, about 4 on each arm, round his legs. I don't know how many. And I just thought, have I been transported back to 1978, silk scarves on the wrist and all that sort of stuff? So I show my age again there. But you'll probably just about remember it, Simon, won't you, when they used to have the silk scarves everywhere. So it was a very personal one. That was my moment. It was actually just so funny to look at, and everyone around was laughing at him and whatnot. And my wife decided to wash them all because she's germaphobe and thinks that because they were sitting on the seats all game, they must be really dirty. So they've all been washed now as well. Hence why I'm allowed them on the door. So a very unusual moment. And sorry to Seatman, he didn't quite get the nod with his latest song, which only about 100 people joined in with most of the game because, let's be honest, the support was poor, wasn't it? And I know the players have got to give us something, but that was a game where they really needed it. And we made a conscious decision, the group of us, probably after about 3 or 4 pints, that we were just going to sing the whole game. If no one joined in, or we joined in with Seatman and no one, so be it, because the boys need us. And ended up with one of my mates having a bit of a row with somebody who wouldn't join in, but it's not an actual row, but a pleasant disagreement, A-block style. And it was one of them where you just think, if you can't get behind the boys in a game like that when they need us more than ever, why are you bothering? It's just like going to the theatre. Why are you bothering? There was, outside of A-block, there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. And once the game was sort of 15, 20 minutes in, Lower Bridgeford, silent as usual these days. Even B block a little bit, but not much. Obviously, you never hear the Trent End anyway these days, and it's just like, come on, these boys really valued our support that first 2 years when we stayed up. They need that support. I know it's not pleasant, and I know I've read excuses about people have had enough, and people are worn out, and people have had this, and people have had... I'm like, yeah, we all have, but for those 90, 95 minutes, we really should have got behind them all the way around the ground like we have done in the past. But I guess, like forward passing football and 50-50 challenges and referees making mistakes that don't get corrected by millimetres, that's gone as well maybe now. Just got to accept it.
Where did Henry get the scarves from? Because when you were logging on, Kate was convinced you'd put a bulk order into Temu or something.
No, freebies.
I'm glad to hear they don't dissolve in the washing machine. That's the result.
Yeah, they just went. He must have gone wandering off at half time. Because I was like, "Where is he?" And Ellie just said, "Oh, he's gone off." And she was giggling. I was like, "Okay." And then he came back with round his head, it was comical, like something from like all he needed was double denim 1978 style with the terraces, but it was comical. But yeah.
And do you know what, Molo? I have to say, I did exactly the same thing. Now, bear in mind that not with the scarves, with the singing. Yeah. Nobody sings where I sit. In general, it is quite a quiet area.
That's the family bit, isn't it?
It's the family area.
Yeah.
There is
that's an expectation, to be fair.
Yeah, I know. And I said before we went in fact, I warned the boys. I was like, I'm going to sing as much as I can. I'm going to be on my own doing a lot of this singing, and you might be slightly mortified, but I need to do it. I need to do it. And they just kind of rolled their eyes at me and shook their heads and thought, oh my God. And I did. I kept going, and people did think that I had, a screw loose. But yeah, on my own, lots of come on you Reds, lots of on and off the pitch. As much as I could muster, I did try.
I think the pennies just dropped for me because I mean I couldn't make the game yesterday with it being Mother's Day, so I didn't go. I didn't feel as though I could afford to spend the whole day out and not spend any time with my mum and obviously the kids with their mum as well. So, but I did spot Mull of Kintyre before the game and just after half time, and I thought there were an unusually high number of scarves being lifted. I thought I've never seen it that great before. And so they were obviously giving free scarves out to everyone, were they?
There's one on every seat.
Right. Okay.
So that's why Henry went wandering around, because quite quickly after the start of the game, some people just dropped them or whatever, and that's why he went on his little mission. I think it's a bit like those people who collect the cups after cricket to get £1 back on each cup. It's like if you got 50p back on each scarf. There'll be collector's items in 100 years' time. Do you remember that season we were in Europe and the manager decided he was going to bottle it and play the B team? Sorry. Later.
So they're going to be loads of these on Vinted now, aren't they, for sure? Yeah. You would have thought. For £1 each. Right, let's...
Wallpaper.
Any final thoughts on Fulham before we do our player of the matches?
Just a fair play to what you said there with Ola, because he's since his injury, he hasn't yet got back to full speed, and I think he's a long way off it. Even last night, he was a mile off it from what he was last year, where he was the best right back in the league, and that's natural after a bad injury. And if you're saying it's a month till Chris Wood's back, I've been saying all along we can forget about Chris Wood having an impact until September, until next season. And I just know how our fans work. He'll be fit, he'll come back, he'll do not a lot, and they'll be on his case just as usual, but hopefully not most of them, because he's earned the right. But I think we've got to write at this point in time, having been out so long, we need to write off Chris Wood. Remember what he was like when we signed him, when he'd been injured, and it's not his fault. That's football, as Ola Einer's currently proving. I can't wait till Ola's back to full strength, and he's getting there. Definitely a big step last night, wasn't it?
So is Einer your player of the match then?
Absolutely
Ola?
not.
Who is, in a word?
Miles off. He was miles off. He did some great things, but he also did some shocking things. Man of the match, I need to say Murillo then, who also did some amazing things and shocking. Milenkovic, consistent, clean sheet. When we were in trouble, he put his foot in. He took out one of their men, super sneaky, that I didn't even notice at the game, near the start of the second half, was it? Just a really good, back to his best, Mr. Steady, in a defence that needed to be rock solid, and it was. And it certainly can't be an attacking player, can it?
Kate, your man of the match, please.
I'm going back to Nico for my man of the match. I thought he had a great game. I thought he kept someone fairly quiet. I thought he did pose some attacking threat at times. I thought he was up and down. I thought, as ever, Mr. Consistent. So I looked at that and I thought, there's my guy. I'm going with Nico.
And who are you going for, Chelsea?
I only saw the second half of the game, but I was watching the highlights and I did get a first half report from my dad as well when I came in after work, as I usually do. So, yeah, I'll go for Gibbs-White purely based on what I've seen and when I watched the game back and things. So, yeah, he absolutely runs his socks off and he's just, again, consistent.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Milenkovic as well, because he kept Raul, especially who you think is their danger man, he kept him really quiet all game, so we didn't hear anything significant from him in terms of chances. I'm talking about Rahul, that is. So Milenkovic gets the nod from me as well. And we haven't got a quiz this week, unfortunately, but hopefully, Chelsea, we do have an FPL update. Please, have you got one?
I do have one. It'd have been a good week to not do it, actually, because I don't think we've all done that great, to be fair. Right, so we've still got the Brentford Wolves game tonight, which I know quite a few of us have got at least one player in. So, Simon, sorry, Simon's got two.
And half the press, Thiago has scored and Dango has got an assist. So that pleases me.
How many points are you on now then? Because I've got you with 48, which is when I was.
Can we just not do it tonight?
Yeah. I'm now up to 62, Chelsea. I've got live FPL on my phone and I've got 62.
Gosh, let me change it now on my laptop. I'll put 62 points rather than 48 for Simon. Well, are you still in fifth place? Because that's what I've got on mine. Or have you gone up to second or something?
It's fourth, actually. Live table. It's the live table. This is not not your update. Yeah, I've gone up to 4th, and I'm looking for. My phone is scrolling to find Mollo, but
Oh my
I need
gosh!
to. You know what? I haven't even looked at my team for about 3 weeks because once we've been to the game and done the pod, I just want to try and forget about football until the next game. That's the way it's been.
Do you know what? Ignore him. Ignore him, Molly.
Ah,
He's just
that's fine,
bullying.
that's fine.
Ignore him. Don't stoop to his level.
carry on,
Well,
Chels.
Mollo, you are down to 8th place with 46 points at
I'm
the moment.
surprised
But
it's
it
that
could-
many, to be honest. I keep forgetting to drop Haaland.
which you never thought you'd say. I'm in 18th place with 59 points, but again, that might have changed because I think I've got one Brentford player at the back. Can't remember. Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, but I did play my bench boost this week, and thank God I did because I did absolutely rubbish. So my bench got me 16 points, which, you know, is all right. It's not great, but, you know, at least that bumped me up a little bit in terms of my points. So I got 59 so far. And Kate, you are up. Up to
And I've
20.
got Thiago, so I'm up to 48 points now.
There we go, 48 points.
I can't even
But
remember
yeah,
if
there
I've
was
got
not a lot of
Thiago.
big scorers from us this week, weirdly, but that's fine. We can go again next week. Mollo's going to drop Haaland, and Haaland's going to end up scoring a hat-trick or something because he's dropped...
He's got a blank, Chelsea. It's a
Yes,
blank
he
game week.
has.
So
Yes, it is. That's what I've got on here. So, yeah, game week 31 is a blank game week. So, Arsenal, Man City, Wolves and Palace. So, if you've got any players of those teams, I would suggest that you use your wildcard or your free hit chip if you do still have them. Has anyone still got theirs? I've got my free hits, so I'm not too bad. There we
Yeah.
go. Wizard Simon over here. He knows exactly what he's doing for blank game week. I can see him nodding and smiling.
I shall keep that between me and the mic, Chelsea.
Okay, he'll then go up to first. But yes, that is the FPL. Or is anybody know what they're doing or changing anything for game week 31?
I don't even know who's in my team at the moment. I need to go back and look. It's been that long. I think I've probably still got Chris Wood the way it's going at the moment.
Mollo's going in blind. That's fine. To be fair, Mollo, the fact that I'm even trying and you're still very far above me and Kate.
I think
The
it's
only-
down to Arsenal's defence probably.
Yeah, the only definite move I'm making, Chelsea, is getting rid of Timber because he's probably going to be injured. I know he's missing the Champions League game this week, and they've got a blank anyway, so it doesn't make sense to keep him in the squad. So I'll be selling him, but I will be keeping Haaland in my squad, and I will be keeping Gabriel in my squad. So they're just going to sit on the bench for a week. So,
There we go. See, you've heard it here first, people. Go with what Simon says because he's doing brilliant out of all of us.
Nah,
Never mind.
I'm putting Luca in, then you're in trouble.
Can you imagine if that did happen? Some miracle.
you know what? I'd be singing, and I wouldn't care in the world
Yeah.
if he got 5 goals for Forest against Spurs. If it puts Mollo above me, absolutely fine.
Dear. But yeah, that's the FPL update for this week.
Excellent, thanks for that, Chelsea. Right, on to Midtjylland. So, according to the manager, he's going to be playing his B team this week when really the position Forest are in, they should be seeking the A team. But if you know where they are and if you can find them and you need the help, you have to call the A team, don't you, Kate? I mean, you've got some certain opinions around Pereira playing the B team.
Go, Kate, go.
Okay. So his post-match interview after Fulham really, really aggravated me. Now, I think, quite a positive person when it comes to Forest. I'm quite a positive person when it comes to the circus that has been our managerial choices this season, and I'm always the person that says we get behind the guy in charge because we're Forest fans. But I tell you what, he really ground my gears in that interview. He's saying, you know, we're tired and we've got to travel. We've got to get on our private jet from East Midlands and go all the way to Denmark, and it's really, really hard for us. And then after that, when we get back, we've got to go to Tottenham. I mean, come on. What is wrong with you, man? He says, you know, we're tired. We're having to play too many games. It's all a little bit too much. Well, first of all, read your job description because you signed the contract and that is exactly what was in it. Premier League, and Europa League. They were both in that contract and you put your signature on it. So get with the programme, Pereira. And second of all, if you want to talk to me about being tired, I will go one-on-one with you all day long. I am a single mother with 3 children. I work, I volunteer, I follow Forest all around the country and around Europe. You are tired. I am leaving Nottingham at 1 o'clock in the morning to travel to Denmark to watch my team play in Europe. That's what I'm doing. I am tired too. But I tell you what, show me and the other 600 fans that are going to Denmark the respect that we deserve. Do not go on social media and tell us you need us to be the 12th man and then send out the B team when we have hauled our arses all the way out to Denmark to stand there and cheer them on in Europe. I don't want to hear that. You turn up and you try and win every single game that we play. And you do that because you are Nottingham Forest and you have fans there that want you to do that. And you do that because you are players that want to play in Europe. So stop your whinging. Get on your plane, get on the pitch, and show us what you're made of.
And that's the clip for our social media.
It is, yeah. And do you see what that is?
World's smallest violin.
I do.
Yeah, world's smallest violin, and it's playing just for Pereira.
Have you not got your private jet, Kate, that's taking you over to Denmark?
No. I'm getting on a plane at 6 o'clock in the goddamn morning at Stansted Airport. That's what I'm doing. You want to invite me on your private jet? I'll give you a little chat about being tired and about being Forest manager. I tell you what.
I mean, Kate does have a point, Mollo, and you hear stories today about people returning their Midtjylland tickets given the situation that...
I don't think that's actually true, though, because I went online to try and get a bonus one, and it said sold out still.
Yeah, where did you hear that then, Kate? You reckon that there was some being returned?
Yeah, somebody messaged me with a screenshot of being able to purchase them this morning and said people are returning them because he's playing the B team.
Well, it's probably about 3.
I don't know how many and I don't know for how long, but they did send me a screenshot to say that they were purchased.
Definitely not many, that's for sure.
No.
Because as soon as you said that, I went online to try and get one for Henry. Yeah, I echo almost all of what you say.
Almost.
Well, the thing I would say is Pierre is 57. Does he remember being 27? Because that was the last time we were in Europe, and that means we'll be 87, or he will be 87 next time we're in Europe if that trend continues, if he doesn't win it. And I am, I've got not quite echo, Kate, but I am a 2-parent family with 3 kids and a full-time job and various other commitments. And I'm hauling my butt out of bed. And not only that, I don't get paid holiday like many people because I'm self-employed as it stands. So I would accept it if all 650 fans get something in the region of, I don't know, 500 or 600 quid each for their trouble. Then I'd accept it, even though I don't agree with it. But it's it's a difficult conversation to have because I'm a bit meh with the Premier League these days anyway. I'm not saying I want us to go down, and that debate, what would you rather? Well, for me, the way I look at it now, we sit in a pub. I went to the pub before the game quite early this week, and we're talking about the old times and the other time. In 10 years' time, when I'm sat in a pub, I'm not going to be going, oh, do you remember that season when we let ourselves get knocked out of Europe, but we stayed up and got another 150 million quid and the finances were okay? Yay! But I might be saying, do you remember that trip to Istanbul when we played in the Europa Cup final and hopefully won it? And all those trips that season, trips to Stuttgart or Porto, trips to Lille or Villa or wherever, So maybe I'm just too old and romantic. What I do find though, the split between people who want us to stay up and people who not want us to stay up, given a direct choice, although they're not mutually exclusive, people who go to the games, including European games, tend to want us to win something. But people who primarily armchair fans and social media guys, they're like, it's all about the Premier League, it's all about the Premier League. Well, that game yesterday, that first half particularly, if that's the Premier League, Jesus Christ, the product, as one of our good friends from Australia likes to call it, the product at the moment is not that great.
And they'd had a week off. They'd had a week off before we played Fulham. Okay, they'd had a week on the training ground. They didn't have, so just.
It's a maximum 15 games.
Not before we played Fulham. Before we played,
a maximum
Midtjylland,
15 games. That's all there is.
And there's another international break round the corner where they're going to get another break. So you've got
Maybe
to look
they can
forward
come
to
to the
that as well.
Garibaldi Girls gala
Yeah.
then, because they're getting another break, yet another break.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from. In terms of what you think about the Premier League, Wallow, it's like, I'd love Forest to win a cup. I'd love them to win the Europa League and get a trophy. The Premier League is a means to do that, I think. Because if you're in the Championship, so we go down, and it's losing. I can cope with playing in the Championship.
If we win the Europa.
Yeah. What I'm scared of is losing the likes of Murillo, Anderson and Gibbs-White, who are the three biggest assets you would have thought would go in the summer if we go down. They might go anyway. But those three are the catalyst to winning a trophy, aren't they? Given the quality they have. So it's losing those kind of players where we're so close to winning a trophy. You suddenly take all of that away. It almost feels like we're back to square one again in terms of trying to win a trophy. Now, I know the playoff final is a trophy of a different sort, but it's not a major trophy. It's a major trophy that all Forest fans now want, isn't it? To see their team lift it in Istanbul, Molo, at the end of May.
Absolutely.
Going back to the Championship is a setback towards those goals.
It is, but if we've already won the trophy, I'm not. Just to be absolutely clear, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. And as I've said previously, I actually think momentum's important. And if you tinker with the team, that's one thing, to sort of freshen up a couple of people that need it. The thing about Morgan Gibbs-White is the more he plays, the better he gets. He's like a Duracell bunny, isn't he? There's just something about him. You leave him in that team, he plays his way into form, he never stops running. Elliot Anderson, similar maybe. It seems to me that his form dropped off compared to where it was, he's still the best young midfielder in the country, but compared to where it was at that one point earlier in the season, it dropped off a bit when he had the England games and then the rest games from Europe. Coincidentally, I guess, because the whole team dropped off. But for me, you pick the right team to try and win the game. We've had plenty of looks at Midtjylland now. They've got plenty of data to work on against us. And we need to score goals, obviously. Is that going to... I totally agree with resting... And I don't mean resting. I actually say, let's be honest, let's call it what it is, dropping 2 or 3 players because they deserve to be dropped. But pick your first choice back four. Pick your best goalkeeper. Pick your Andersons, your Gibbs-Whites, and then probably your Hudson-Odoi. I wouldn't be adverse to someone like Odoi playing. I'd certainly start with Yatesy. I'd drop Sangare full stop for Sunday as well. Well, saying that, he had his one amazing game against Spurs, didn't he? So yeah, if we can win in Istanbul in May, that's a memory for a lifetime. You know, you've got a handful of memories when you get to be old gits like the two of us, and those amazing days at Wembley, and I include the playoffs in that. That was right up there because of the long wait, I guess. Those amazing days at Wembley, those days at Arsenal away, the Littlewoods Cup finals, the European Cup finals, which I didn't actually go to, but you know, amazing stuff. So they're what football's all about. But unfortunately, it's become a money monster, and I guess it's more important to stay up, no doubt about it. But you know, drawing a home to Bournemouth on the last day of the season to stay up will probably be dead exciting. But this season's been awful. The highlights of this season have involved travelling around Europe, to be honest. And I imagine it's similar for Kate.
Yeah, and it's not as simple as saying, if we send the B team out on Thursday, we will get 3 points at Spurs. Again, maybe I'm naive in saying that we should compete in both competitions, but there is absolutely no guarantee that if we rest the whole starting 11 on Thursday, that we go to Spurs and we win the game. It's just not that simple. It's not how it works. It just isn't.
Well, the question is, how are people going to feel if we go to Midtjylland and don't get through, draw or lose or whatever, because it's got 0-0 written all over, hasn't it? Because to them there's no pressure, they've just got to not concede. Yeah. And then we go to Spurs and we don't win, or God forbid we lose, then how are people going to feel?
I know how Steve Hodge feels.
Yeah.
He's been talking yet again about Pereira getting the sack, so I know where his bread's buttered at the moment, so we'll see what happens there. But obviously you, Molo and Kate, are going to Midtjylland on Thursday, which means that we aren't able to bring you an additional pod later in the week because of that, and Chelsea, you're working as well. So the next time you hear from us will be after the Spurs game. So on that basis, let's talk a little bit about the Spurs game now and the relegation run-in. And to me, it feels like if Forest avoid relegation, it will be more to do with the failure of the other teams than it will be Forest earning it at the moment as things stand right now. I don't know what you guys think, but the Spurs game to me feels like a cup final in the sense that, does the loser go down? I'll put that question to you, Chelsea, first of all.
Oh, God.
Is that how you feel, how important the Spurs game is at the moment?
Yeah, I do feel like that. You know when you know that something's coming up and you just keep thinking about it and you get that knot and that pit in your stomach and you think, oh no, don't think about it, just carry on with your day and just pretend like it's not happening until that whistle that whistle goes. But it does feel like a cup final to me. It does. I am so nervous about it, and this is probably the first time that I've actually spoke about it because me and Dad are not really talking about that game, the Spurs game. We're just completely ignoring the fact it's even happening. But yeah, a cup final, that's exactly what it feels like for me. And I don't know whether I'd agree with the fact that it's like the loser goes down. But again, it depends what happens with West Ham as well. That's take that into consideration as well for the weekend. But I am so nervous about that game, and to me, it is a must-win game. Well, a must-not-lose game. But yeah, we need to pick up at least a point. 3 would be absolutely amazing.
I think Molo's got ghosts, I think.
It just sounds like he's letting off.
What is it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've got to do something.
But I just want to talk through the current relegation odds as they stand right now. So Wolves have a 99.93% chance of getting relegated. Burnley at 99.65%. So you can almost assume those two are down. So as I said, as it stands right now, West Ham have a 46.57% chance of being relegated. Forest's odds have worsened since that point at Fulham. They're now at 34.05%. And Spurs have actually improved a little bit on the back of a point at Anfield. So they've got a 13.18% chance of going down. And to round it off, Leeds 6.45% chance of going down.
I just feel like Spurs are going to get themselves out of it. That is just what I feel like is going to happen.
It'll be such a Spursy thing for them not to get out of it, though, wouldn't it? So,
Spursy. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
But you talked earlier, Mono, about the number of points needed to survive, and the projections are that 38 points this season might be enough. And it's quite a high number when you compare it to previous seasons. In 24-25, it was 26 points. The season before that, it was 27. The season before that, it was 35. Then it was 36, 29, 35, 35, 34, 35 and 38, going back all the way to the 2015-2016 season. So if 38 is the projected number you're going to get this year, it seems as though it's the hardest season in a long while to stay up for those teams that are at the bottom. And I think I read somewhere there's only been 2 occasions where a team has scored higher than 40 points and got relegated.
West Ham on 42.
West Ham was
I remember
one, yeah.
that one. I don't know who the others are, but would that have been in the 38 game season though?
Can't remember.
Because I know West Ham were, but the others might not have been. I just think this is going to sound weird, but I think it's much more damaging to Spurs if they lose on Sunday than it is us, because this is their cup final. This is their kind of, if we lose, if we can't even beat Forest having got a point at Anfield, then we might as well just throw in the towel, hoping to throw it in before the game. If we lose, it would be typical Forest to go and win the next 2 or 3, although I'm not convinced we will, because it's going to do serious damage to the morale, isn't it? Because we've forgotten how to win as well, haven't we? Let's be fair. Apart from that game at Fenerbahce where they didn't turn up and we did, and we took advantage and played really, really well in an unbelievable atmosphere. Well, there won't be an atmosphere like that anywhere else.
Happy birthday!
She's gone here. But I just think it's got a horrible 0-0 written all over it again, hasn't it? But the players yesterday were under a lot of pressure at home, and they still turned up. They may not have scored, but they did turn up. They didn't bottle it. The effort level was there, albeit the application wasn't exactly brilliant for some of them. But if we turn up at Spurs, I mean, that commodity in these situations of an early goal and turn the crowd, then it could really hurt them. Because I didn't watch the Liverpool game yesterday. I was out, took Gemma out for we all went out for Mother's Day. But I was watching it on my phone, like the score, and there was little updates, and it kept saying Spurs are playing well. They're in this game, blah de blah. And is that a reflection on Liverpool because they're not great? But if Spurs have got the players, if they all turn up with the right attitude, the right application, half decent tactics, they can compete and beat anyone. But so have we, and I don't see much evidence from them this season, recently particularly, that they're going to turn up. Let's hope they don't. Let's pray they don't, because they've still got more points than us at the moment, haven't they?
Go on, Chelsea.
I did hear. Have they got? Is that 3 players come back from injury? I could be wrong, but that's what I heard. Freddie for
suspension as well, haven't they? Whatever his name is.
Van der Ven's back.
Yeah, Van der Ven. You know, you think great, just happens to be.
If there's any consolation, Spurs fans might be obviously buoyant after getting a point at Anfield, but that offers no guarantees, as we well know. Having got a point at Man City, we all thought that was going to be a springboard to a victory, and so far it hasn't happened. So there's no guarantee that will be also a springboard for Spurs. So that might be something for Forest fans to cling on to there if they're a bit worried. But just to go over the other teams and how they're performing form-wise at the minute. Leeds have lost back-to-back home games and have won just once in the last 7. And they're only 3 points off the bottom 3, and they have only just won once on the road in the league all season. And they are playing, they've got Man United coming up away as well in a couple of weeks. Spurs, we all know about, of course. West Ham, they've beaten a Burnley. They've picked up another win at Fulham. They've only lost twice since in 8 games, and that victory in North London was against Spurs, of course. So they have looked to have got a bit of fight about them. And Burnley and Wolves, as we say, are almost down. So it's not over yet. We're still in with a chance of staying up, of course, aren't we? We've just got to get a little bit of lady luck, of course.
I keep looking at the goal difference between us and West Ham as well, because that could come down to it on the day.
Right, so that brings us towards the end of the show and time for any other business. Kate, have you got anything you wanted to share with the group and the listeners?
So I'm assuming quite a few people have seen the social media post that went out today about Noah, the boy who beat leukemia and got to ring the bell to say that he's all better. And he wrote to the Forest team and said, could he come and ring the bell with the players? So he was invited to a training session, and he met them all, and they all stood there with him, and he rang the bell, and that went out on social media today. And it was beautifully timed, because when you watch something like that and you see what that little lad and his family must have been through in the last couple of years, it doesn't bear thinking about. But he stood there on that pitch with those players and he rang that bell today. And I just wanted to say, you know, incredible kid, incredible family, all the very best wishes from us, and well done for Forest for inviting him down and doing that with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly echo that. As a leukemia survivor myself, I know exactly how he must have been feeling, and when I was ill, I really struggled with the illness. So God knows how he must have been feeling going through his treatment and his recovery as a child. It must have been difficult to understand what his body was going through and how they were going to be treating. So absolutely marvel at somebody like that who can recover and get better, because it's not an easy illness to overcome. But what I did like about the clip as well, Chris Wood was there, wasn't he, in his training kit. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, we say a month off, who knows. Mm-hmm. Right, Mollo, anything from you?
Can't follow that. Just turn up on Thursday and turn up on Sunday, and we'll just get ourselves out of this, because I'm a bit of a stats geek when it comes to maths, and you saying 38 points looks like it could be enough. One win just gets us that much closer, doesn't it? Sooner rather than later.
It's going to go down to the wire, I think. Chelsea, anything from you? Final word.
Just what everyone said about the little legend that is Noah, bless his heart, sending love to him and all his family. Yeah, just another reminder about the Garibaldi Girls Gala, 28th of March. We have got absolutely amazing prizes in the raffle, and yeah, you can go ahead, get your tickets. 28th of March, go head over to our Instagram, the link is in the bio to grab your tickets. So yeah, it's going to be an absolutely amazing night with special guests and an amazing raffle with brilliant prizes including signed shirts, so go get your tickets please.
Great, that's it for another episode. Thanks Chelsea, thanks Mollo, thanks Kate, and to everyone else for listening and watching. As mentioned earlier, we'll be back after the Spurs game to review what promises to be a pivotal week in the history of Nottingham Forest Football Club. And as the great man once said,
I hope anybody's not stupid enough to write us off.